And on the 27th, we got Jay George. On the 28th, we have Lilith and Alexander Crowley. And on January 3rd, we have DJ Hyde. Um, so, yeah, lots of things happening on Wrestling. Alright, I think we're done putting ourselves over, right? Scooter?
Yes, I would say so.
And before we start, to all our to all of our Jewish listeners, happy Hanukkah. And depending on who you ask, it was a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the news. And I don't think anything that made the news more this week than hearing that Mandy Rose was released from WWE after a relatively short 15-minute match against Roxanne Perez, dropping the title. The very next day, she was released. Um, it's kind of a morally gray area, but what are your thoughts on the release, Scooter?
My first thoughts were, where are those pictures? And how much Jergens do I have left? Um, I do have calluses on my hands. Uh, this seems like there's a lot more to it than we know. Um, I mean, of course, we have to bring up Paige Saraya into this and kind of point out that this is a little bit, if not a lot, hypocritical because Saraya was sticking things into her ass and didn't get fired.
Okay, well, just to play devil's advocate here, she wasn't getting paid to do those things. Those were on her personal, you know, server, cloud, whatever you want to call it. I I really compare it to the Selena Vega situation, where she had an OnlyFans, was not doing what Mandy Rose was doing, and got fired for it, despite that she wasn't doing anything necessarily wrong. But obviously Mandy took it a little bit more further. No,
Mm, yes, it really, you know, the 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 actual content itself probably plays a part more than the fact that she is naked in some of them. I think the fact that she does use nudity was a way to uh, distance themselves and give them validation. The question really is, how did they find out about it?
well, obviously somebody was subbing. Um, but was maybe Mandy looking to get fired, Kaliko?
It's weird because I always looked at it like it's like the legality part of it all because everything is always based on intent, right? Like, was Paige intending to have those leaked on without her permission? No, right? Kind of can trace that back. When it comes to Mandy, she was the author, so it it came from her. So she is the soul. So I always look at it like the thing is because people always kind of got like, oh, it was leaked without her permission and da 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 da. Which yes, that is the case. But there's also an interesting point that I always look at is she's using a public vehicle, which is considered the internet. And yes, kids, when you post things on the internet, they belong to the government. And when you do that, it does become public property. Now you can put it behind a paid firewall whether you want to, and people can get mad about the person that leaks it on the paid firewall, but that breaks in another legality of ownership, right? Paying to play, paying for access to something, or paying to something to own something. So it it's a lot of layers with this internet thing, and God knows what's going to happen with this.
It she wasn't releasing them under the name Mandy Rose.
She wasn't.
No, she was releasing them under her actual name, albeit
Man, slight alteration.
yeah, Mandy Sachs, which Sachs is a shortening of her actual last name. Mandy Rose's real name, Amanda Sacamano.
Well, I mean, either way, it you could change the name, but the face stays the same. And
But nobody owns a face.
not according to WWE. Um,
Um,
does but what I'm getting at is, obviously she knew what she was doing, and she had to understand that there was going to be some backfire for this. Was she looking to get fired?
no, and I think honestly, if she took this to a court, she would probably win. She would probably win for wrongful termination. Um, the idea of what I'm assuming they're using as the reason to release her is that it violates some sort of morals clause, some sort of morality, you know, clause in the contract.
Right.
Um, Here is what I really think is going to happen. I think we have another Daniel Bryan tie choking situation on our hands.
Okay. I get what you mean by that.
She'll go away for a certain amount of time. Uh, they'll whether she decides she wants to go back or whether this is a full out release with the intent of going full time. Because let's face it, if Tony Storm can make 30 grand in an hour, Mandy can make 60.
You might not be wrong about that. And that brings me to my next point. Does she
Just
actually
60?
does she actually have to wrestle? Could she just live off of this website for obviously as long as she wants to?
I think that was always. I mean, it's crazy because it's residual income, and I think it wasn't more so of what. I think it was more of what she was posting more than what she was doing, because I can make the argument, hey, I still got a YouTube TV channel, and it's just basically her accumulating the American life, right? But she doesn't say Oscar, it's Kana-chan TV. Xavier Woods does it as well. It's just weird because it's one of those things where the person is profiting per se, and and that's where it gets
See,
iffy on the corporation side because you can't say they're independent contractors and then they go do independent things and then you say, hey, they violated our moral clause, which is the issue at hand.
uh, yes, we also have to take into account when she actually started doing this. I mean, Mandy Rose was a competitive, swimsuit model before WWE, um, and considering how many people actually knew about this, I have to assume this was started during the pandemic. Um, to to supplement um, her income.
Does it give
I
you the
mean,
date of when she made the account on the website? Like, is that something you
e-
do?
it again. It really comes down to semantics. When did she, uh, you know, when did she start it? Uh, is there enough reason for termination uh, to determine that Mandy was essentially infringing on a copyright if she was making money based on the fact she was a WWE superstar? Now, I don't believe in any of this content and the screen grabs that uh, have been released where she mentions being specifically a WWE superstar. She mentions wrestling.
Okay, yeah, but she's also the person you have your title on. I mean, if
Uh,
like, I mean, if this was like anybody else on the mobile card of NXT, i.e., a Nikita Lyons, would she be fired? But because she's literally the face of your promotion, doesn't that put more of a spotlight and more of a microscope on you?
I mean, again, you had you had you had a guy putting his bodily fluids on a Divas title.
He was also a part of the company as well. So. But
But it was
again, if
also
that was the
without consent, so
yeah,
that's the
exactly,
intention.
yeah.
Uh, so it again, it's a matter of consent. It's a matter of timing. It is. It could even be a matter of privacy.
I mean, she's selling them. I mean, it wasn't okay. Maybe she owns the rights.
No, she
Maybe
was selling
maybe
access to them, which is different, and that's where it's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah,
Because selling access to something, does that mean the person that's buying the access therefore owns it? It's a whole, like that part in itself is a
yeah,
whole different
we're
web of issues.
we're going
because
down a rabbit hole here. That's way too
well,
complicated for
I
a
mean,
wrestling podcast.
when you buy access to the content, it is uh, assumed that once you stop paying for access, you no longer have the content, unless you're a complete sleaze and use save image and all these third party capture tools to leak shit, which people do. Um,
Where does Mandy Rose
but
go from here? You're more on the lines of that she will be back in around 6 months, correct?
ye, I'd even say three. I'd say three. They'll give her a chance to
Get
you
it out of
know
her system.
get the remove.
Get her shit straight. That's
and then they'll want her back. Uh, Given the fact that they pulled the early switch on uh, putting the title on Roxanne, uh, before Roxanne even had a chance to savor the fact that she was the Iron Survivor. It also makes me think that this was known a little bit beforehand.
Quite possibly. Kind of like the RVD failing the drug test. Well, actually getting arrested um, situation back in '07, '06. Um, that begs the question: what does Gigi do? I mean, not
Well,
all jokes aside, what does Gigi and JC actually do at this point?
they'll likely get called up to the main roster. Um, uh, um, okay. We all right. I'm taking back what I said. Um, it looks like she's gonna go full force with the racy content. Uh, I
Doing
mean,
some
it's
investigative journalism, though, it's good.
her Instagram um, handle, which well, technically, okay. Mandy Rose is technically her actual name. Rose is her actual middle name.
Hmm.
Um, but now her racy content stuff is front and center, or rather, the link is front and center on her Instagram.
What say you, Calypso? What does off-ball GG and JC go from here?
I mean, they could still be toxic attraction lights, but to me, I mean, because they were already a decent tag team, so they can still work the tag team scene. The faction might need another person who could make that jump. I mean, Nikita could join. You just
Um,
gotta find someone who could be a figurehead, or maybe GT steps into that role and then
uh,
add another person.
the rumor I heard is that if they do decide to continue with the group, that it will be Sonya taking her place.
That would make sense. It's toxic, slightly less attractive. Alright, um, speaking of,
Maybe the toxic lesbian. Get it right.
speaking of toxicity, Matt Riddle, it's supposedly, and if you believe rumor and innuendo, has been suspended, due to failing the drug test. Some say, it was supposed to be an injury. There was an injury angle on Raw to hide an actual injury. It's not the case. Some say he's just taking time off. Some saying he failed the drug test. Which one surprised you the least, Scooter?
Honestly, not the drug test, because it makes me think, what the hell else is he taking that he would fail, considering that his gimmick is that he's a pothead.
I don't think that's a gimmick, Scooter.
All right, his life is his gimmick. Uh, I mean, for all we know, it can be, maybe it was horse tranquilizers.
Hmm.
Maybe it was you know, three types of anabolic steroids and a low-grade beaver tranquilizer. In fact, that was my nickname in high school, Beaver Tranquilizer.
Now, Kaliko, considering this guy is a pothead, it was reported that he was dating a porn star, and, just all this negative feedback on him. Is he somebody that you actually go with and put him in a limelight situation as a babyface after all these things come out about him?
I mean, they did all of that even with the whole cheating thing and put him with Randy Orton. So I mean, what happens outside really won't affect the inside unless the outside is just super, super off the chain, i.e., Mandy Rose or something like that. Because everyone knows his status. I think it's more time off. Because damn, that dude, like I can't even remember last time he took off. They were working. Because remember the Arcade Bro thing was at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Randy gets injured. He does the injury angle with he does the angle with Seth for like 3-4 months, and so it's just maybe he just needs rest for the rest of the year. Come back fresh at the Rumble. That would be my thought process. Because I mean, think about it. I'm trying to think who hasn't taken time off during
Besides
that whole
Roman?
year. You say what?
Besides Roman?
Yeah, other than
Uh,
Roman, I
well,
mean,
I mean,
Usos took off a little bit
I,
too, but
I mean, no, that's not really time off. I mean, that's just a very light schedule.
Sure. Well, we've been talking about, everybody, and we've been talking a lot about Sasha Banks as recently as well. Which begs the question, where's Naomi? Does anybody care about Naomi at this point? Did even Sasha Banks forget about her? It does seem like Sasha is just going to New Japan at this point. Again, what about Naomi? Scooter.
Um, who who knows at this point? Maybe maybe Naomi will appear on an episode of Barmageddon.
I do like that song. What about you, Kaliko?
I mean, you remember when Corey Graves used to talk all that shit about Sasha being selfish? And it seems like he was more accurate than what we like to admit. I swear to God. Like, I thought he was just bullshitting, but he seems to be got his finger on the pulse with her, boy. Uh,
Carmella.
but yeah, Naomi threw away the career. What killed me with her is she was coachable, and she let that one instance throw it away. Kind of sucks. I think she should get the benefit of the doubt and be able to come back because it's out of character for her.
I mean, what? Watch it turn out that. Wait, okay, so how long has Naomi and Tasha been gone?
Roughly 6 months.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It was supposed to be. It was
Has
right before Hell in a Cell.
Okay, has anyone seen Naomi since?
She was at a meet and greet with Sasha Banks in Chicago, I believe in September.
What was she wearing?
I don't know. I'm not a fashionista here. This isn't wrestling with fashion, Scooter.
No, my money is on she's injured.
how could she be injured? They were going into
The
a major angle where she was going for the world title.
the bloodline is expanding. She's preggers.
Oh, okay. You think?
It it would.
Now that would make sense because when I got to talk to her, she did want kids. Because
And
Jimmy has
yeah,
kids, but she doesn't have.
and we know Sasha is not.
Right.
Um, it of course, this is just speculation based on how much we've literally seen Naomi in any spotlight in the past 6 months. Uh, if if around WrestleMania or even probably before, we see Jimmy, you know, you know, take a little time off, and that's when to be a father. That's when the Usos drop the tag titles, which we're all expecting anyway.
True.
It, it's a little almost a little too coincidental.
Okay, but that does beg the question: what if she's not pregnant and she's just sitting on the couch? And Sasha's in Japan, her husband's in Los Angeles, and she got left out of literally everything because Sasha told her, "Hey, come with me."
Uh, uh, I mean, there was also that picture of Naomi and Jade Cargill going around at the MPA game.
Are we saying that Naomi might becoming a baddie?
No, 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 not at all.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I mean, she was a part of Bad at one point. Not out of the
She's not a
cast.
good heel. She is not a good heel.
yeah,
Yeah,
no. I mean, the only other possibility, I aside from either she's really stupid or really pregnant, um, is they're waiting to bring in a second female member into the bloodline before they even bring in the first.
I feel like if they would have brought a female member of the bloodline, it would have happened by now. No?
Mm-mm, well, the the only true legitimate member of the bloodline only recently debuted.
Oh, Ava Ring.
Yes, not Ricky Starks. Um,
I mean, Nia Jax, Jessica Mea. Um,
I'm honestly I'm expecting Naya to show up at the Rumble at this point.
but there's a possibility of that. Um, alright, let's talk about the armed survival matches. They were last week. Um, maybe the show wasn't worth talking about, but the matches, those two matches definitely were. Kaliko, what were your thoughts on the first two ever armed survival matches?
Uh, Other than the fact that the people that we thought were gonna win did not win, it it was a nice little wrinkle. Something different. And if you're gonna try something different, try it at NXT because a lot of people ain't trying to watch a lot of it anyway. It's not fun. Try it out there.
What are your thoughts, Riddle?
Fucking Grayson Waller, man. Out of everyone, he did not need. He shouldn't have been the one to win that match. Oh my god. This was. This should have been Carmelo's time.
Mellow is money.
And, you know, unless they're bringing up Carmelo sooner rather than later, it's just baffling. You know, like the matches in and of itself were interesting, innovative, and entertaining. The fact that Grayson essentially wins the match with within 30 seconds. Just about getting those first two immediately. I also am wondering if they were trying to go for something where there was supposed to be sudden death.
I don't think they're as
And
that choreographed to make a sudden death scenario.
I no, I think they just lost track of the clock,
Hmm.
quite honestly. Because honestly, I expected somebody else who had two falls to roll up Grayson one more time within that last, like, or get that pinfall with like 1 second remaining.
It seemed like it was pretty tight, though. It seems like it was intentional.
That's what she said.
Um,
I mean, Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, great. I don't have to watch NXT.
huh, good. Welcome to the club. Um, I thought that I thought the men's and the women's was definitely um different contrasts completely. I felt like the women's was everything that match shouldn't be. It felt like they were going in. Um, I was. It felt like I had it on fast forward when I didn't. It was just very frantic and clusterfuckery, and it just seemed like there was no real psychology in the match ever. And obviously Roxanne won, she's champion now. Personally don't necessarily like Roxanne that much, so wasn't a big fan of that. And then you go on to the men's match, and I felt like that was everything that match could have been, and maybe a little bit more. You know, everybody, they let the match breathe. It's a 25-minute match. They went, this guy got a fall, this guy got a fall. There was some franticness, there was some outside fighting, they used the thing that holds them, the penalty box, and it was just they made you want to see who was going to win at the last minute to 30 seconds of the match. So, you know, for that reason, I kind of felt the men were a lot better than the women. Usually, I don't feel that way. Usually, I give the girls the benefit of the doubt, and sometimes they're even better than the guys. Most of the time. But I just felt like the guys had had wrestle rings around them at this point. What was your preferred match, the men's or the women's studio?
The men's. It was a bit. It was more exciting. It had the, you know, it had you questioning who really was going to pull it out, especially with those scores being as close as they were.
And there was a lot more pinfalls in the second one than there was in the first. Kaliko?
Well, because all the girls in the women's were green to me, bag green. There was no general. Vice the men's, you could kind of tell that it was more cohesive, and the women's it's almost kind of like dance by numbers. Like, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, that type of thing.
Hmm. Well, speaking of pin by numbers, on the AEW side of things, at Winter is Coming, um, Axon and Gruddy defeated Chris Jericho.
Good God. Oh, man. You kind of knew it was coming,
Because it
but
lasted a commercial break.
that, and it's like, all right, he's clearly either AEW is really fucking with us, or they're going to legit pull their own Razor Ramon the Kid situation.
And I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with that. It was definitely a moment that made my jaw drop. I was like, wow, that happened. But then again, just thinking about it, we're probably not going to see this guy again in maybe the next 3 to 4 months.
Well,
So I
they
mean, it,
signed him.
but I mean, it's not like they're going to capitalize on it. You're not going to see Action Andretti versus Samoa Joe a month from now after Andretti got like 3, 4 more wins. He's not Jake Paul yet. That's my problem with it. What say you, Kalika? Did we lose Kalika?
Nah, you were choppy as hell. What the hell is that? I couldn't even hear the question.
Oh, well, I mean, my Wi-Fi is working. I'm green.
Oh gosh. Oh Lord.
But what say you about Action Andretti, Kalika?
Frankly, don't have an opinion at all.
Wow. I think that says it all. No.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of no opinion at all, it's reported that WWE, Triple H has been underwhelmed with some of the comebacks that WWE has had since he's been in charge. Which is understandable. Maybe they were fan favorites in NXT. The people in WWE don't exactly know who some of these people are. Um, who is underwhelmed you, Scooter?
Well, uh, assuming we're going to go back to AEW after this, because I think there's a debut you forgot to mention. Hit Row, clearly. Um, especially after SmackDown. Good God, top dollar. Oof.
I mean, they only brought him back to do the anti-Rosa, so.
Um. Uh, Santos Escobar a little bit, only because I think Escobar should have won the SmackDown World Cup. You know, if you had asked me this last week, I might have said Bray,
Ooh. Really?
especially since getting put into a program with LA Knight, which is entertaining as hell, but it's it's a little like should is this the right feud for Bray getting back in the ring? But then then you had somebody actually dress up as Captain Howdy, Uncle Howdy,
That was Uncle Cracker.
Howdy Doody, on SmackDown. You heard Uncle Cracker.
You want some crackers, Portia? I don't have the sound effect.
Yeah, we'll probably see her come back too.
I don't think so.
Oh man.
What about you, Kaliko? Who has underwhelmed you since returning under the Triple H regime?
Gargano. I can make the argument for Gargano.
And
Hit Row was behind the curve because without Swerve, it ain't no Hit Row. Damn, that just you heard that bar right there. Oh, anyway,
That's why they need
but
Carmelo.
but I think Hit Row was already behind the curve because I think if they had Swerve in time, it would have made a big difference. Um, Gargano's been disappointed. Bray, he's trying to build a story. They're just letting him do his thing and build into it. People kind of thought he was just gonna hot shot to somewhere, and he's taking his time, which is what you want him to do. Um, Gargano's the one because when they brought him back, he had a pop and hasn't really popped off since then.
I could make the argument the whole group of the Way hasn't really popped off. Loomis, Gargano, LeRae. I could make the argument LeRae was supposed to be in the War Games match, and they decided to drop her because she was people didn't really respond to her. And then you have on the other side of the spectrum Emma, who is just basically a valet for Mad Cat at this point.
But that's on. I mean, Emma was never really like Emma was fucked because Emma had the little goofy gimmick and it was working, and then they tried to make her into something that she wasn't. Yeah, that shit was over. That little Z thing was over, but then they flipped it. So she just became a victim of bad booking. I told you, man, ride or die with Emma. But
I mean, but then also the fact that they haven't bothered to change her music. I mean, having her say it's all about me. I mean, it would make more sense for her to put her with LA Knight, quite honestly.
Uh, well, I guess those are them the breaks. But I mean, then you have the fact that, well, I mean, you could put her with LA Knight and then have her in LA versus Alexa and Bray.
That's if they're gonna put Alexa back in that
Did you not watch
role.
Raw?
God, I must have missed it.
Yeah, Lexa was in the ring with Bianca, and the screen flashed the Firefly moth thing, and she had her in the Sister Abigail, but then she let it
Oh,
go.
yeah, she.
Yeah, she about to come on home.
No,
Yeah,
she had it in twice. I don't think that had anything to really do.
I mean it's a story they're gonna possibly tell sooner rather than later.
But if you go back to the heart of it, it's it's Alexa Bliss essentially conquering Bray Wyatt. So
Mm,
what now? Whether Alexa as a as part of a duo with a heel doesn't work anymore.
but was she
It it
really
it,
a
it
duo with
doesn't.
Bray? I mean,
Yes.
it kind of felt like they were together, but maybe apart at the same time, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Kind of like how Luke
mm,
Harper and
I th-
Eric Rowan were a part of him, but not exactly a part of him at points.
I think Alexa has really transitioned past the need for the supernatural gimmick. Now, most likely, I'll bet we're being misdirected.
Hmm.
And that a woman is not going to join Bray, they're going to join Uncle Howdy.
Well,
The question
howdy!
the question is, who is Howdy going to be? Is Howdy going to turn out to be Bo Dallas? It is I honored based on how he was standing, my money would be on would would be on Howdy being Cameron Grimes.
Ooh. I
You know,
feel like
he was
Cameron
like
is
he was like
over.
standing out there with his like hands on like his vest, like
I kind of feel like Cameron would be too over as what he is now to change so drastically.
the thing is that we're supposed to believe that Bray has been successful in separating himself from the evil that we used to witness him doing. But that evil has now manifested into a character all its own. It's
Right.
sort of like a new nightmare, where the villain is not actually Freddy Krueger, it's just an evil entity that likes the persona of Freddy Krueger, which is why he looks so different.
Well,
I mean, they're not gonna put it where like, oh, Uncle Howdy's been pulling the strings all along.
no.
No.
They could make. I think Bray is okay. I don't think that what he has done has been underwhelming. I mean, I haven't necessarily seen what he's done since he's came back, but I mean, he's Bray Wyatt, so obviously when he comes on TV, people are gonna watch it. But everybody else kind of seems like they were just, oh, you were expected to, you knew who they were on NXT, so you should like them on WWE TV, no?
Well, well,
Well, on to,
yeah. By the way, uh, this Uncle Howdy Bray Wyatt thing happens on uh the upcoming edition of SmackDown, which has been taped.
that's interesting. Tape something with such a big repercussions.
2 day. I mean, 2 days before Christmas. I mean, it also sets up something else really big for the December 30th SmackDown.
John Cena's return.
John Cena's return.
Yes.
I don't know if you were saving this particular fact for now, but
I'm not so good to say it, it's fine.
well, there was an AEW debut working. She worked the dark tapings for the first time. Billy Starks.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yep.
Good for Billy. I mean, she's been on Impact now, and now, AEW. I think we all know that she's going to get signed somewhere sooner rather than later, so, yeah, good on her. Speaking of more, let's just hope that they don't sign her to Ring of Honor, which was revealed earlier this week that there will be new episodes of Ring of Honor coming soon to a subscription service that's exclusively Ring of Honor for $9.99. Is this a death sentence to Ring of Honor to put them on a subscription service that literally nobody is going to buy? Kaliko?
That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. If this was 10 years ago, it would have been totally got worthy. But Ring of Honor is not that same Ring of Honor. And what group is going to ROH is not the same as it was even 5 years ago. So the demand's not there.
And
I don't see it going anywhere.
they're not putting the pay-per-views on there. You can see them 90 days after they've gone live, but again, what's the point? This model didn't. I actually think there is going to be a TV deal in place soon. I believe Tony did say that there would be a weekly ROH show, but
On the subscription service. I mean, right now, AEW is in a new overhaul of getting a new look for the new year. How are they going to deal with Ring of Honor when they have to deal with all those changes to the actual company?
considering the fact that Tony, it kind of explicitly almost stated that that our Ring of Honor was going to try. It was going to be an attempt, at least, to try and disassociate Ring of Honor from AEW.
Right, but all of the AEW guys have the Ring of Honor titles, except the Briscoes.
Which this would have been a perfect opportunity for let's say you get Honor Club. Okay, great. You pay the base $9.99. would you pay $19.99 a month if it meant having access to the Ring of Honor pay-per-views live and AEW's 5 pay-per-views live?
Well, considering that they charge $60 for AEW paid previews and $40 for Ring of Honor paid previews, I don't think they could sustain that. If they did $9.99, it's the AEW network.
No. $9.99 would be the base model. You
Right.
wouldn't get access to the pay-per-views. You would have to pay more. Okay, let's say for $19.99 you get access to Ring of Honor, that library, the AEW library, and everything.
But no. What I'm saying is, if this was the AEW network, and you got all of AEW's library, all of Ring of Honor's libraries, and you have all that content on there from day one. And you get a weekly show from Ring of Honor. You get AEW shows when they come on afterwards. That would be more interesting than just Ring of Honor exclusive show. Ring of Honor is essentially the NXT of AEW, but they're trying to treat it as an entity that's equal to what they're doing in AEW, and it's just not. And that's what I was kind of getting to.
Well, very true.
Like, if AEW made a network and you got all of the content that I just said, they're gonna put documentaries on there. They're going to make content exclusively for that, and then you get a weekly show from from Ring of Honor. You would get that, right?
Yeah, debatable, but
See, here's the thing though. That's not exactly profit driving for AEW. This is why, for right now, I think the 3-tier model would work just as well, because even though you have Fight TV, you still have to pay extra on top of it. You have to pay the regular pay-per-view price. If Tony Khan got in business with, let's say the UFC, well, no, because UFC's on ESPN, Showtime, and Bellator, and hell, throw boxing in there too.
What about what's the network that AEW would be closely associated that has a network? Would it be Discovery?
It would be Warner Discovery, which is merging.
Would they come get Ring of Honor on the Discovery app? Like they would like a weekly live show on their, not live, but a recorded wrestling show weekly on their app.
There's not a lot of people, use the Discovery app. What? Oh no! Oh, who's Warner? It's Are they merging with Paramount? I think they'd have a better shot on the Paramount network. Quite honestly,
No debating that.
because
I feel like
the Paramount network.
Paramount's a little more family friendly than
Paramount offers the live feeds of the Big Brother house 24 hours a day when that's in season.
Oh God.
Yeah. They also have commercial free and with commercial options.
This is correct.
So AEW and Ring of Honor attaching to another service or going in league with another combat sport would probably be the better option. I mean, let's face it. If Dana White is going to back slap fighting as a sport,
I'll be
like
watching it.
just like the audience is going to be all. No, I'm not saying it. No, I've said a lot of controversial shit on this show, but I don't want to mention anything about the audience being battered wives. Shit, I said it.
Well, I think we could all agree that whatever subscription service AEW decides to be on at any time, nobody will be paying for the best of seven series between Death Triangle and the Elite. They are currently at two, 3-1, I believe, and the next match is on. It's a no disqualification match on the 6th. Um, Actually, no, on the 28th, I believe. There's a false. The next one after that, if necessary, it will be a false count anywhere match, and if necessary, which it will be on January 11th in Los Angeles. There will be a Christina Aguilera Dwarf Day match.
Go Escalera de la Muerte.
God bless you. I don't know what a Christina Aguilera Dwarf match is, but
It's
I'm looking forward to it. Let's hope that
it's a ladder match.
they'll put in Christina Aguilera on a ladder. Fantastic. Good on you, Tony. All right. Now a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.